The Eastern Cape, the home of ANC greats and stalwarts, once the bastion of the ANC. And I just wonder what sense is happening there? What have you been observing? What have you been hearing in terms of the fortunes of the ruling party and also long-time protagonist, the Democratic Alliance? And are there new players in the province?
Well, good evening to you, Peter, and to the viewers at home. Of course, even with the low voter turnout in this province as well as in the country, I think, as you've pointed out, the Eastern Cape remains a very strong hold of the ANC. I mean, even if you look at the numbers that the party has managed to galvanize and you compare those to the next party, there's quite a huge margin there. I mean, if I can give you the numbers, Peter, out of the 71% of the votes that have been captured, the ANC is by far ahead of the pack with 66.39% of the votes, and followed by the DA at 12.71%. And in third place is the EFF with 7.73%. as well as in fourth place, the UDM with 2.89%. So that should be giving you a clear indication that the people of the Eastern Cape seem to have the confidence and support the ANC, even with all the challenges that they face. Peter?
Bulelani, so during the course of the day, you must have been out there. What have people been saying out loud in terms of why they didn't show up and what it means?
Well, Peter, the reasons for people to stay away differ from person to person and also differ from political affiliations to other political affiliations. You'll see that in some of the voting districts yesterday, we've heard of protests that were happening. All those protests were based on service delivery issues, as well as the dissatisfaction among some of the ANC people with the ward candidates that have been chosen for them. So those kinds of people were saying that this is the moment for them to actually display their dissatisfaction with all of these issues. But on the other hand, some people actually took the opportunity to actually say that they're actually tired of issues of corruption and nepotism in their areas, and they want to actually make a statement to the people who will be coming into those municipalities that those kinds of behaviors will no longer be accepted going forward. And the others again were actually dealt with by the challenges that were faced by the IEC. For example, you'd find that a person would have registered in a particular ward, and when they arrive there, their names are not on the voters' roll. And there were two examples of people. One person was actually chased away because they don't appear there, and they were told that the IEC would be able to communicate them in terms of how the process will go ahead. And the second person was simply referred to an adjacent ward because their name was appearing on that ward, even though they had registered in the ward that they went to. So the reasons differ from person to person. Peter?
Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. That's really the epicenter of politics in the province. Everywhere else, I guess, by and large, is quite clear. What are we seeing at this time?
Well, the race is still wide open. I mean, the votes that have been captured so far is at about 27%, one of the lowest municipalities that have captured votes so far. So what we're seeing that there is that the DA and the ANC remain neck and neck, with the ANC sitting at about 40.45% and the DA closely behind the ANC with 39.37%. So you can see the margins are not too far apart. And the third place there goes to the EFF with 6.69%. Potentially and technically could be the kingmakers, but that will depend on the relationship between the ANC and the EFF. And again, the DA and the EFF have actually not been seeing eye to eye. And in the lead up to the election, both parties have actually confirmed that they do not wish to work together. So it's up to the ANC in this instance of choosing which kind of partners does it want, based on what values. And I think for them, they will be looking into getting as little partners as possible, because the more partners that you have in a coalition, the more complex the relations are. So as things stand now, if this trend continues, the ANC would need to at least get all the other smaller political parties just to make up about 10% of the vote in order for the ANC to be able to actually form a government in that municipality. Peter?
From the projections that the CSIR has given, it doesn't look like that anybody, the ANC or the DA, can get over the line without the EFF. They're probably already starting those conversations, I guess.
Well, Peter, the story of the EFF is quite an interesting one, because if history is anything to go by, we've seen that the EFF has actually in the past taken the back seat, choosing not to work with either the ANC or the or the DA rather. So it's going to be interesting whether this time around what stance are they going to take, or whether are they going to throw their weight behind the ANC, or they will simply choose to do what they've done in the past of just allowing themselves to be on the backbenchers. So at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the stance of the EFF. But if they do not want to participate in any coalition talks, then all the other two major parties, the ANC and the DA, will be forced to talk to all the other smaller political parties, and they will actually have to talk to several of them, because most of the smaller political parties have votes that are just below 2% or hovering around 1%. So they need quite a substantial amount of votes that will make up at least 10% in order for the DA or the ANC to make up a government. Peter?
Bulelani, thanks very much indeed. We'll catch up with you again a little bit later on. That's Bulelani, Phillip there, who's in the Eastern Cape. And Nelson Mandela Bay Metro